All right, guys, welcome. Today is a few dark romance books. Yeah, okay, let's just get into it. The first book we're going to talk about is Heartless Heathens by Santana Knox. So, Heartless Heathens is a dark romance, a tad morally gray. It's like a gothic type romance, I would say. So it involves the heroine Romina, and this is a why choose. So there's three guys. So here's what happens with Romina. First of all, the setting in this is not post-apocalyptic, but it's kind of set in a time where a major world event happens, and and so now the world is different, okay? So not much different than today's world where it's just run by a few multi-billionaires, right? But no, it is set in, after some major stuff happens. So anyway, Romina, the heroine, when she's a baby, she gets brought to a priest, and the priest doesn't want to turn her away. It's a baby, right? So he takes the baby in, except the priest isn't exactly a good guy. So he takes the baby, raises it, but he keeps the girl locked in a tower. She has spent her whole life locked in this tower and never being out. She does sneak out a few times, but other than sneaking into like the woods, she does not really know what the real world is like. Well, this priest runs a school and a church, so the guy who helps fund it decides he's going to send in his three goons because he needs some answers about something, right? So they come in, they decide, we don't want to stay with the rest of the people in the school, so we're going to buy that old building over there. The problem is the priest, his dirty little secret is locked in that building in a tower. So he's, of course, panicking. He's like, no, you're not buying that building. You're not going in there. I got to get all my things out, right? Well, they just tell the priest, basically, screw you. So they buy the building, and so eventually they come across Romina, right? Well, at first they don't trust her. They think, she's working for the priest. She's a spy. There's something going on there. Well, turns out she's just this naive, young lady that doesn't really know what the world's about. This book does have religion and anti-religion aspects to it, so that's usually not my jam. So if it's not yours, maybe you don't want to read this book. But I actually found it wasn't too much, It does get dark. There are some dark parts in here, but basically, eventually, they fall in love with her. They gotta protect her at all costs, and so they do. They end up, protecting her. The priest, like I said, he's not a very good guy. So anyway, that's how this story goes down. I don't want to give too much away, but overall, it was really good. It was pretty good. It had spice. It was spicy too, because you know how these why choose books go. They cram a lot of spice in there. So anyway, it is a standalone, and yeah, it's got that gothic feel, and whatever. It was pretty good, even if you're like me and you're not really into anti-religion or religious type books. I still found this one pretty good. And I liked the dynamic between the three guys. That was fun. And the fact that they had to teach her a bunch of stuff because she was just so naive from being locked in this tower. So that was kind of cute too. There was like some, endearing parts, I guess, of the book. So anyway, that is Heartless Heathens. Did I say it's under 500 pages, so not a super long book. Next book is Does It Hurt by H.D. Carlton. This was spacey spicy, guys. this I guess would be considered kind of a dark romance. Definitely morally gray. So the heroine, I had to write her name down because I forgot. Oh, Sawyer. That's the heroine's name. And Mr. Yes Please is Enzo. Here's the gist without giving it away. It's so hard when you're talking about books you love because you just want to spoiler alert, right? But I'm not going to do that. Anyway, this was kind of unique where I've not come across a lot of books that has like a beachy ocean theme, and this book does. So Sawyer, the heroine, she ends up having to get out of town. Like some stuff goes down. She's got to go on the run. So she goes to another country, and she can't use her real identity because people are searching for her. So she basically has to steal in order to survive. Her main target is usually men that she will spend an evening with. So she ends up meeting Enzo in a bar. And of course, they get along, they have a good time together. But by morning, she's not just leaving with her clothes, honey. She took something of Enzo's, okay? Well, when he finds this out, he's furious. And instead of getting the police involved, he decides, I'm going to take care of this myself. He tracks her down. Now, when he runs into her, her initial thought is panic, right? Because she never ends up seeing these guys again. But he acts like nothing's wrong. So she's thinking, well, maybe he hasn't discovered that I stole from him, right? So he gets her off again, like to go off with him. Now, some stuff goes down. He is seeking revenge. Well, in the process, they end up in a situation together. So they went from strangers to lovers, and then the book kind of turns to kind of enemies to lovers. So they get caught up in this situation, and now they're kind of stuck together. They just gotta deal with it together. There's no way out of it, right? So this book has the extra spicy. It has a little bit of adventure. It has some thrill. It has some mystery. This is one of those books. I really like this one. This is one of those books that it kind of has it all. It keeps you entertained. It's got all the things, right? If you've read this, who else keeps thinking of the boat scene? That scene actually made me sweat. That scene, I was reading it and I was like, oh my goodness, honey. I almost feel like I'm getting a hot flash. That scene made me a little nervous. I'm not going to lie, but I'm not going to give it away. But if you read it, you know what I'm talking about. That scene was like, absolutely not, sir. How dare you? But also, she brought it on herself, so you couldn't get too mad at Enzo, right? But anyway, this is a standalone. This was really good. It's one of those books, like I said, it just kind of has it all. And I highly recommend it. So, next book, which is the last book we're going to talk about. This was a very short book. This book was under 200 pages. That's really short, right? So anyways, it is called Mine for 24 Hell Hours. It's a standalone. You know, this one was a little unique too. Even though it was short, it kind of crammed in a good story. It had the spice. It's a standalone. It's strangers to lovers. So what happens is, Mr. Yes Please, what was his name? Luca. He is a tattoo artist. He's tattooed and he's a biker. So there you go. And Dylan, she's the heroine. He ends up, do they meet in a nightclub or does he just spot her? I think they have like a brief encounter. But anyway, he ends up following her. And you know, he follows her on his bike. She's in a car, and of course he stops her on the road. And he is like, hey. So he gives her an offer she can't refuse. And of course, like a lunatic, she's like, sure. He's just like, hey, girl, like, give me 24 hours, you know? So that's what happens. The story was kind of interesting. Like the proposition he gives her is kind of interesting. I don't think I've come across that in a book yet. It does have a little bit of food play in there, which is kind of icky to me, but not so much so that it's just, you know, gag worthy. At least not for me. But anyway, overall, he ends up being this, what would you call it? A consent king. Like through the whole book, he is just like making sure she is down for whatever he wants to give her. Overall, this was spicy. This was kind of cute. This was, you know, it was a little different. I can't lie. It was a little different. And I love that he ended up being just this like really sweet guy, who really was just really careful with her. You know what I mean? So this was short, so don't expect like a jam-packed thrill ride. Although I had to say, it kept me entertained, and I think it is worth the read. If you're looking for something that's just really quick, under 200 pages, I mean, come on. Anybody can read that, right? So it was pretty good. I recommend it. I can't remember the author, but I will pop up the little, you know, cover of the book. So there you go. That's all I have for you guys today. And I will see you in my next video. Oh, before I go, if you're going to read any of these books, read Does It Hurt? That one to me is entirely worth the read. All right. That's all I have for you guys today, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.